This video is a simplified view of the ADR spectrum. It is meant to convey a concept of how the various elements of the ADR process might fit together. And it's based upon earlier discussions that conflicts can be resolved or addressed in three different areas: through the power of one party, through the rights of the parties, or through these. And so I put on this screen power at the top of the left-hand side, rights and interests, and then something that might explain the nature of the actions undertaken by the parties. Either there would be action outcomes, in the mid-level there might be relational outcomes, and in the far right-hand side, conflict transformation. Therefore, we looked at power at the top, power being the ability of one party to coerce another, to make them bring about some action. Rights would be an approach to conflict in which we're using objective sources such as the law or case law to try and determine what should be the resolution of the conflict. And then an interest would be not so much what are the parties' rights in law, but what do they really want? What are their needs? What are their interests? And is there a way to resolve it within the interests? Within that component, you might put within interest-based processes would be collaborative processes in which the parties get together, work to collaborate, and come up with outcomes. In some circumstances, that may be done by having a facilitator, and those I would put as a subcomponent of collaborative processes. I'm referring to here as facilitated processes. Then there's the broader used term of mediation, which I put as a circle in the middle. In some cases, mediation can be rather facilitated but leave the power of resolution to the parties. At other times, mediation becomes rather evaluative, particularly in legal situation where the mediator is predicting outcomes of cases in order to try and move the parties towards settlement. The evaluative predictive model is not the model that I recommend in mediation. Of those different processes could be considered by what often happens in each one. You might look at the lower section, the bottom part of the triangle, where there is an ability to not only bring about action outcomes but also relational and conflict transformation. The process is relational, there's less of a need to win, and it looks more towards sustaining the relationship, durable outcomes, and tends to be forward-leaning. In the right section, resolutions still are often based upon law and equity, perhaps including the BATNA, which is the party's BATNA, best alternative to a negotiated agreement. So rights tends to be a little bit more on the law, will bring about action outcomes, potentially relational outcomes, generally not what one might call conflict transformation. And then at the top would be power, where there's some form of coercion and often leading to conflicts not really being resolved but only temporarily moved. The goal then is to try and, at least from my perspective, move down to the stronger, more stable base of the triangle where you have interest-based bargaining in collaborative processes or facilitated mediation to try and bring about outcomes that are durable, more forward-leaning, more forward-looking, and more sustainable.